The moment the light turns on, America will realize, and has realized, as we saw, of course, last year in November. That was a pretty exciting experience, wasn't it? The midterms? Now, I want you to think about that. Did that surprise you? Because according to the left, according to the Democrat Party and to liberals, that kind of thing wasn't supposed to happen because America is rejecting what conservatism is. Well, quite the opposite. Most of the energy from liberals is spent making you surrender, making you think that it's not even worth engaging in this process. We know, of course, that's a lie. Might as well have been, of course, I don't know how long Jonathan Gruber's been on the planet, but maybe he's been operating for several generations about lying to the American people. But those days can be over, but it takes a decision that you make as an individual. This is not going to be, and shouldn't be, a hard, long slog. This is the same nation that gave 49 of the 50 states to President Reagan, and Minnesota probably was stolen, but we could deal with that later. The American people have always responded to a message of freedom. So when you've heard about compromise and reaching out to people who perhaps don't share your way of life, but this doesn't mean that you have to give up your values. Quite the opposite, is that there's this sense that Americans who are different from conservatives, whether it's about issues of faith, whether it's about gays, whether it's about people of color, the fact of the matter is the singular message about conservatism, what it brings, is personal freedom. Personal freedom comes from economic freedom. No one wakes up or when they're 7 years old and says, oh gosh, I wish government could control my life. You know, and nobody does that. And yet the left messages to people that, you know, without government you're lost. And of course, they've made it to be that way, right? They've created an environment where their work has made things more hopeless, and then they use that hopelessness to say, well, you need more of us, don't you? It is, of course, a ridiculous framework. For us, and what I want to encourage you to do as having come from the left, is reaffirm your correctness. Reaffirm the idea and the nature of why you're a conservative, which is to improve the quality of people's lives, right? I mean, you want more of your own life to be free. You want to be able to make choices that best suit you. You don't want some stranger, some bureaucrat making decisions for you about where you can spend your money, what you can eat, whether or not you're going to get a nonprofit status, right, or whether you can start a small business, how much of your own fruits of your labor you can keep. Who wants that? Nobody wants that. This is about freedom. Every American wants that, regardless of sexual orientation, regardless of complexion, regardless even of a relationship with God. Now, I believe in God. I'm not a big fan of organized religion. I'm also a gay woman. That's a sliver of my identity. What I am, I'm a conservative. I'm an American first, who has a lot of different elements to what makes me who I am, right? That message, that fact, for everyone who's also watching on television here and around the world, the fact is, especially if you're a minority, the only thing that sets you free is financial freedom and small government. As minorities, especially, the conservative ideal, the basis of conservatism, is what informs the power of our lives. The ability to make choices that best suit us, whatever those choices might be. And your conservatism relies on Americans understanding that that also presumes, as we can here in America, that we can trust ourselves and how we live our lives with personal dignity, a respect for our community, and a commitment to the nation as a whole. Because this is the last place on earth where you can be different and not be chased down and imprisoned or killed, where it's not a crime to be different or to speak differently. So for you, when it comes to action and making a difference here, this is about moving past your comfort zone. Right? Maybe you're a member of your local NRA, right? Maybe you're a member of your local Tea Party. Well, what about Rotary? What about getting involved with the PTA? Especially if you're homeschooling, another good element for you. But getting involved in groups and with communities that maybe normally you wouldn't have gotten involved with, perhaps local AIDS outreach, perhaps getting involved with some non-political groups especially, and engaging your newfound friends in topics of freedom and not politics, economics, the future of our families, what we have in common. You'll find that the conservative ideal is what everyone has in common. No single parent thinks about how lovely it will be to always wait for the check from the government. No woman is always waiting and hoping to find the person who's going to save them from themselves. We too have independence and power, and we want to use it. But we're not going to use it as long as Washington is up there telling us what to do. So for you, it's about realizing that the conservative ideal, separate from party politics, is the thing that will make things better. And that for you in your own mind, to not think that, well, you've got to convince people who don't believe in conservatism, or that what you believe is something that Americans don't want. Quite the contrary. I'll leave you with this analogy about the power that you have as an individual when you decide. Liberalism works 24/7 at keeping the light off in the room. And they spend that time, because you are the one who turns on the light, their energy is spent at convincing you that everybody wants the room dark, that nobody wants to see what's in the room, that everybody's fine with the way that things are, and you're the aberration because who are you that you want to turn the light on? All it takes is a decision for you to reject that argument. Everybody knows in their hearts, of course, that's not true. Everybody wants the light on. All it takes is turning the light on. And then it can be seen. And that's what, of course, ruins the liberal agenda, is an open discussion about who they are, about their results, about what the agenda does in increasing poverty and in increasing hopelessness, increasing the decrease of our own power as Americans, and as a result, as you've seen around the world, a decrease in our own dignity and power as a nation. You are the ones who will turn that around by deciding to turn the light on, to reject the premise that's presented to you, to reject the liberal argument that Americans want what's happening. Use the 2014 midterms if you have to. But remember, in 2016, it's going to become even more furious. You've seen conservative influencers in the last week or two be viciously attacked for speaking their minds. That will only increase. Do not be afraid of that. They're doing it because they know if you speak up, it changes everything. But in order to do so, you have to decide. That's it. Thank you, everybody. Pleasure.
All right, thank you, all three of you. Before we dive into the discussion about building your party, I wanted to just first touch upon what you just wrapped up about how there's many people within the Republican Party that might say building the base, broadening the brand is watering down it. Grover?
If I could expand on that, just because it's an excellent point. I think conservatives, now I'm not a Republican, I'm a conservative, and someday I might become one because Ronald Reagan's my hero, the first president I could vote for. I think conservatives feel that it's an existential issue and stick with the foundation because of what I've seen happen, which is the leftist argument against the ideal itself. And so you become quite passionate about holding on to your ideals because they are the foundation of the future and literally of the survival of the country and freedom, not just for us, but for the world. But that's part of the trick. That's the trick, to manipulate you into a distraction that you're forgetting that the conservative ideal is built into everything that every American wants. And after 6 years of liberal policy, Americans finally are seeing what liberalism is. And it's 92 million people off the work rolls. It's 1 out of every 5 American households on food stamps. It's an attempt to eliminate your financial freedom, which eliminates your political voice. Today, the FCC is voting on making the internet a utility. Keep regulating that, and what's going to happen next? Radio shows like mine, of course, are going to be deemed as a problem. So they want to distract you, and I think that, yes, once you realize that your view, that your conservative ideal is at the foundation of freedom, you don't need to worry about it being an existential issue when it comes to how you approach things, that you can deal with it within your favorite issue. You don't have to deal with every issue because that can be overwhelming. Maybe your issue is Obamacare or immigration. Maybe it's Common Core. Whatever it is, because there's enough of us to where all the issues will be dealt with. So getting out of a framework that this is an existential fight. No, the moment you turn on that light, as we saw with President Reagan, the nation can change in a day. In a day it can change. And that's what you must remember.
So being in the news industry, 2016 is what we're all talking about right now. What is the GOP